best friends. How's everybody doing tonight?
Welcome to the show, whoever's watching us.
Or no one's watching us. Or they
Maybe
were
no.
never there to begin with.
They're trickling in, I think.
So we got a pretty full schedule tonight, gentlemen. We've got at the top of the show, we've got some news to go over.
Or lack thereof.
There's news this
Got
week.
news.
Yeah,
Sort
there's some stuff, but
We're gonna tie up loose ends on the world's wrap up. Basically, going through the top 16 deck lists, and then if you want to get good coverage on the teams event, tune into Total Justice Gaming tomorrow night, as they do plan to host good old Kevin Broberg and Piglet on their show.
and a Devin if we can get a hold of a Devin, but
He's
yeah,
on Canadian time.
Devin's situation is that he doesn't have anything. He doesn't have a computer that can use the
oh,
stuff
okay.
he can use.
Well, maybe you guys should take notes from him on what he would say, and he can vicariously be into the show through you. And also, just a quick thing to touch from the previous 2 weeks episodes. Between Twitch glitching a little bit and my internet messing up, some of the episodes might be messed up a bit on YouTube, so I apologize to anyone who watches our show only on YouTube instead of live.
Should have watched it live.
Okay, continue, Sean.
I got nothing. All right. Next, we'll do. We're gonna have a nice, lively debate tonight between our three hosts about a new thing happening through Jasco Games, and that is the Player of the Year. I'm expecting a lively and civil debate, gentlemen.
I could be civil.
We'll see what happens. Otherwise, we'll turn into celebrity death match: Matt Hughes versus Kevin Broberg, in a pure, joyous, glorious stop motion style.
That'd be awesome.
We're going to do a little reporting on what's going on with Turbo, because like Waldo, Carmen Sandiego, in the state of the game, we can't find it. Move on to...
I should have hired Scoob and the gang for that as well.
Well, they haven't solved our other mystery, so...
Probably because we haven't given them enough Scooby snacks.
Tonight, Kevin's top 5, we're going to discuss the top 5 answers to Assets Athena. The number 1 answer being, don't show up, it's miserable.
Whoa, what the hell, Sean? Yeah, let's have our podcast to promote UFS by Don't Play. Yeah, that's awesome. Way to go, buddy.
And then, of course, at the end of our show, we'll discuss the upcoming events. So let's get started. Big news this week.
I thought you were mad about Felicia, Sean. God.
Bye, Felicia.
I'm in a good mood now.
This crap.
So, our first news item this week is over the weekend. For those of you who troll around on the forums because they have no social life, everybody on the stream who does that, please raise your hand.
I'm here.
Okay, so you would have noticed a new forum heading. Looks like they put up some information on the forums about some upcoming Kickstarters. Which shouldn't come to as a surprise from anybody, because they did announce these games back at Gen Con in August of 2015. They talked briefly about the minis games for Dragon Ball Z, Mortal Kombat, and Street Fighter, and that they're going to do a Kickstarter. Oh, gentlemen, what do you think of that?
I think if they've learned their lesson about Kickstarters, okay, we'll see. That's really worrying me. I'm hoping they have a bunch of names behind this game. So everything looks really good about this game. I'm gonna kind of have to agree with an article that Garrett and other people posted about how Jasco Games, if they haven't fixed the problem that happened with the Mega Man Kickstarter, this could be the weakest link.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Yeah, like, I have the sense UFS player, and that being the lens I see Jasco Games through, that the last Kickstarter was just an albatross they had hung around their neck that was just weighing them down, where it was this good thing at first and then it just turned to total crap. And hopefully they've learned their lessons. Hopefully they know how to manage it and, manage expectations and keep the supply chain in line so that it goes smoothly.
I mean,
And I really hope they have that in mind if they're doing several of these.
to play devil's advocate real quick, other Kickstarters do have issues. Even Level 99 Games, which puts out multiple products and has really good games, they have issues every once in a while too. I think they actually have only gotten like one of their games out on time, but never has there been a 2-year delay. But also
No,
part
it
of that,
wasn't a full 2-year delay. The original Kickstarter was promised for November 2014. So it was
Okay.
actually only, all said and done, it was actually only about a 15-month delay.
Oh, I mean,
it was 2 years
that's
from
that's
when,
better.
Huh?
That's better then. It's still
Yeah.
bad, but that's better.
I think a lot of people associate the end of the Kickstarter when they first ran it, as it ended in, I think it ended in the early part of 2014. I think a lot of people associate that as,
Yeah.
we're not getting the game
Yeah,
from 2 years after that.
Yeah, it was 2 years from when I paid them. Where's my shit? Oh, it was a 2-year delay. No, it's we told you we were going to give you your stuff 8 months after you paid us, but we actually delivered it much later.
All right,
than
that's
that.
a bit different. So I don't feel as it doesn't feel as miserable. They still probably should fix some things, but the other thing is Capcom is a difficult company to work with. They want things to look the level of perfection between US perfection and Japanese perfection is very different.
Yeah. Why you no doctor? So,
I mean, hey, Apple's an American company, so I mean, I think it's corporate culture as much as anything else.
yeah, I mean, if you're using my multi-million-dollar license, I want you to use it in exactly the way I want you to use it. I remember it was actually interesting. Kevin and I, a couple years back, went to a seminar during Gen Con's Trade Day, which is if you have a retail store or are considering opening a retail store, I highly recommend going to it.
It was really fascinating.
A lot of really good seminars. And one of the seminars we went to was about running a Kickstarter. And we were kind of chuckling to ourselves a couple weeks ago because we thought about all the things they warned us about in the Kickstarter seminar of like things that could go bad, like literally all of them.
And it was like 10, 15 things could go wrong.
And almost all of them went wrong for Jasco. The rise in price of product, rise in price of shipping, promising a lot of things, especially to international customers, which really increases the price of shipping beyond what you were expecting. I know from a secondary market standpoint, or even a primary market standpoint, rather, I'm concerned that there aren't going to be enough customers now to buy the Mega Man board game because everybody bought it through the initial Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of those things kind of happened. Maybe I should have given Jasco my ticket to that event.
Didn't we meet up with them after that, and they have been very busy?
They had been very busy. So, it's exciting. We did see that article regarding the hype around the new board games. A lot of good reasons to be hyped. The people who are working with Jasco on it seem to have a ton of experience and have had many successful games.
Yeah, that was a good article. I think that it touched on it has a really negative view of some things that I think is some of it earned, some of it not.
Mm-hmm.
But then I mean it talked about I wasn't aware of the excellent resumes of these people that are going to be working on these Kickstarters with Jason and with Jasco Games and with Angry Joe, and so that's really exciting to see that there's such a stacked team behind them.
Right. And as long as Jasco Games has the manufacturing part sorted out, I think it'll be very successful. Because the minis for the Mega Man board game, I was very impressed when we initially looked at them at Gen Con, when we got to play like 10% of a game after sitting for 3 hours, which is 10% of a Mega Man board game. But the minis I was always impressed with, and I'm still impressed with them now that I have them on my desk at work and in my display case here at home. So I think they've really where they need to be on making the minis, and it seems like that's going to be the bulk of this system is the minis. The
But
data
yeah,
and
sets makes it
that's
expensive.
definitely the most important thing for having them interlocked together. I'm sure is the miniatures and the the mechanics that are tied to the miniatures.
Mm-hmm. So, fingers crossed this goes well. I think the writer of the article seemed a little butthurt about not liking UFS, which, I mean, it's not for everybody. I mean, it's not saying that Jasko's a bad game designer if you don't like UFS.
Yeah, I definitely got the sense that he picked up the rules book and tried to read it and tried to make sense of what was going on. And I think that's difficult. I think that's a difficult thing to do. I don't think a lot of people do it that way. And the reason that is that because UFS is such a unique game, I mean it borrows. I mean you draw cards the same as you do in every card game, but a lot of the mechanics you really want to just like if you learn them from someone, you say make a control check. And it's a weird thing to do. It's like it's a weird thing to do with your cards. But once you actually understand it, once it makes sense, now it's really an amazing mechanic. Once you know it, once you see how it informs your deck building decisions, once you see, how it's this probability that goes in every turn, and you can control it, but it's not just this weird alien concept you don't get. And once you get, so I think it's much easier to learn with the person teaching you.
Yeah, if you look in the rules, it's like in order to play a card, you must first add it to the transitional zone, then determine the difficulty by taking the difficulty and adding it to progressive difficulty. By the way, this is progressive difficulty.
Yeah.
Discard the top card of your deck.
Why? Oh.
Then
Control check.
look at the control value. If the control value is equal to or higher than the difficulty, you've passed the control check. If it's not, it just seems a lot more complicated than learning with your friend. Your friend Piglet's like, well, just discard the top card of your deck. Oh, look,
Yep.
4 is more than 3. Win.
And attack stats, like how fast things are, how control checks for blocks work, how attack zones work. When you actually have to write out that if it's the same attack zone, then it's a full block and it deals no damage, and if it's the one step away attack zone, then it's half damage and it's a half block, and round up the damage, and if it's a low versus a high, you can't block it all. Like that's kind of laborious. That's a bunch of words, but it's so easy once you know what's happening.
Yeah.
So.
And once again, it comes back, learning with a friend. Your friend's going to be like, well, how like in a fighting game, if you don't block on right, you still take some damage?
Dude, yeah.
It's not explained like that in the rules, which I think makes it a lot more harder to comprehend. So,
clearly,
I think...
Clearly, the next rule book, they need to have, like, a little comic explaining the game, just like Battlecon does.
I think Forceville did that, too.
Mm-hmm. Have, like, Ken and Ryu doing a little, like, demo game. And you actually it actually shows like a picture of him blocking high or blocking low, and still taking some damage. But really, like with almost any card game and most board games, I think just trying to pick up the rules and read it is pretty miserable to do. And if that's what this guy did, that's gonna be hard. Like I still don't know how to play some of my LCGs properly because I haven't gotten to actually play them with people. Namely Doomtown. Doomtown, I feel, is so much more complicated than UFS.
Well, yeah, I know this. I don't know. I don't like ask people about this all the time. But the only person I've ever met that actually like stood up and said, "Yeah, I learned the rules by reading the rule book," is Tim Keefe. And Tim Keefe, that's like his thing. He likes doing that and doing that kind of close reading of a complicated technical document. That's like his. I mean, he was a math major. It's kind of a personality trait.
He's the only person I know who's ever read an entire cardholder agreement.
Everyone else that I've talked to said, "Yeah, my friends taught me," and I think that's absolutely the way to learn this game.
Yeah, I don't think
maybe we can invent more tools in the future to make it easier to pick it up on your own.
I don't think I read a rulebook for UFS until Jasco Games put out their version of the rules when they picked it up again. Because I got taught the game by some playtesters way back when, and never looked at a rule book since then.
So that's it for talking about the incoming Kickstarters. Hopefully they go well. Hopefully they come out on time. But in Kickstarter world, things usually hardly ever do. Moving on to the state of the game. We got some news over the weekend.
My deck's not getting axed. Woo!
We learned that there are going to be no bans this cycle, and that
I still don't believe that.
and that the state of the game is
Apparently.
incoming at some mysterious date in the future.
Probably in February. That's about as best as we've got.
That's pretty good.
Is this
Yeah.
year a leap year?
It is. It's
is.
2016.
Oh, Jasco Games, you got one extra day.
Wow. So,
Update in progress.
I'm not sure what that update did to make people happy, angry, or just more ambivalent about everything.
Well, it's the thread is certainly banging. Like it's going. We got a pretty active thread. It's kind of bouncing around all over the place in its 52 comments, but
So we'll wait to see. I know, me personally, I was pretty grumpy to see the Kickstarter information and no state of the game. I was very, very not happy.
I was
yeah, I can only
too.
wonder. I can only wonder what's in flight behind that, what's still in progress, and what isn't done yet.
Like, I was pretty upset too when I saw the Kickstarter stuff first, and then update in progress, and then the next day still update in progress. And then I spent some time actually looking at more for the game, and it actually kind of made me hype since I recognized some of the names working on the game. Part of me wonders if this was Jasco Games' plan all along. It's like, well, they've got nothing else. They got nothing else to read. Might as well go look at this game.
No, I think the rest of us were too busy getting drunk and watching football this weekend.
Yo, he's got a point.
So
I think, yeah, it's definitely. I mean, no one has a plan. It's silly.
That's a bad way to think. No plans.
No, it's
I think it's an
people-
accurate way to think.
people see conspiracies and oh yeah, they exactly as planned, huh? Like that. No.
You better watch out. I heard proficient snipers over on the grassy knoll. Too soon? Too soon?
I read an article saying that about with a neat little conspiracy about JFK. It was fun today. Good time at work.
So we talked a little bit last week of things you can do to pass the time, such as playing Extended without Moon and building a UFS cube. I also don't want people to forget that RochesterCCG.com carries a variety of other games other than UFS. You can buy yourself a copy of Chaosmos and play the universe searching game. Or you can, Kevin hates that game. You can purchase a copy of the Mega Man board game. And that's a great way to pass time. I hear you can pass about 18 hours playing that.
Is it possible that Jason and the rest of them are still playing the same game, and that's why the state of the game's not up?
They've been playing it ever since it got off the boat.
They went update in progress, and they're like, all right, let's play our game first while I think of what to write. And then they're still going.
Or you can also play any of our other collectible card games we carry. We do carry the Force of Will card game, and now we carry the Dragon Ball Z card game. Woohoo. And with that,
Oh man.
all the fun things we can do, I have a new contest to keep things interesting.
On top of the giveaway.
On top of the giveaway, I challenge our UFS community to write a quick game rule set for the Mega Man board game.
Oh, I like it.
Oh,
So,
well,
if you
That-
can
that-
write a quick game rule set that lets us play the game in under 2 hours with 4 players, I will send you a copy of the Mega Man board game,
So
that
you can-
coincides pretty well with what I just typed.
including the expansion with Time Man and Oil Man.
and that way you'll be able to find out if your rules actually work after you write them.
Yeah, I kind of announced that kind of on the spot. That's the giving you a new copy of the game seems kind of bad. If you really want one, I'll send it. But the main draw is a free copy of the expansion.
Hey, I like that. That's a good prize. That's hey, you like it enough to fix it. Now we're gonna reward you for fixing it.
Will the shipping of that board game delay my Rochester CCG singles orders?
Yes.
Well, if the expansion doesn't make the game take too long and Hughes, Kevin, and I aren't still playing it, everything should ship on time. But I do have a very limited amount of the expansions, and one of them I am going to be giving away, and it will ship out with a normal singles order if you want to combine them. How's that sound, gentlemen?
Sounds good.
Awesome. Pure upside, right?
Speaking of other giveaways we're doing, remember that if you haven't put your date in for when the Mega Man Battle for Power set's going to come out, make sure you comment on our Facebook page to see if you're the closest. If you're the closest, you get a free booster display of that set. Now, a lot of dates have been taken up because it's a first come, first serve basis. I'm just going to quickly pull up the list, and I can tell you guys that a lot of the dates in April are gone, and a significant number of the dates in May. So, get your guesses in.
We got plenty of numbers free for 2017, though.
There are still plenty of numbers available for 2017. Anything else to cover on that, guys?
Nope.
Nope, not for me.
All right, let's move on to let's finish wrapping up the Worlds 2016. The only thing we have left to cover this week, gentlemen, is 9th through 16th deck lists.
Yeah, well, I mean, we kind of also have teams if we want to talk about that next week. And teams, I think we could do a pretty good thing on team strategy and how to pick your matchups and that kind of thing.
But you guys are talking about teams
Kevin,
tomorrow on the other
you're doing that tomorrow.
Yeah, but that's like you're interviewing the team champions rather than talking about in-depth top deck heroes style.
You actually said exactly one of the questions I have listed for you.
Snap.
But it's on top.
So,
it's not on top deck heroes where we talk about in-depth strategic analysis.
I believe you're
Anyway.
trying to hate on the other show. You should stop that.
No, I'm trying to promote.
We're,
that we have
we're
different
in depth and
niches.
strategic.
Okay, so
I mean,
let's move on
anyway,
to the 9th
yeah.
place deck.
So we have this life gain Basilio San Juan deck, which I think is really cool. The life symbol has so much life gain. It's great. This thing is probably really hard to kill.
Basilio's a whale.
I don't know how this deck actually plays in practice. I'm really curious to try it at some point. Maybe I should try it this week even because I've been meaning to build life decks. In general, I hate Templars and 5 hand size characters because they get stuck in your hand and you just have to, hope they attack you at the right times. But with this deck, his form ability to make you draw 2 and then discard 3, and then play an attack means that you can probably very easily get rid of Templars you don't really need and help use that ability to help find foundations for build turns and attacks for attack turns, and have Templars when you want to block, obviously. I love Athena's Knight in Standard in general, and I think it's obviously really, really great here because it just says you have 2 more life than you started with, or even 3 more life. And I'll talk about this a little bit later. One of the things I hated the most playing Axis Athena was playing a Karame Dama and having it damage reduced down to 1 or to 0 even. And Athena's Knight is really good for that because it's just a flip cost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we talked about the life symbol in depth last week about how many answers it just has. And this deck runs a package of a lot of answers. 8,000 degrees, answers.
Well, just on top of the answers, it's got Coward Hand, it's got Hatred of Autumn, which I love. But it's also just got, you hit it and then it just gets back up with Death Valley Face Plants, with negative stolens out of the discard pile, with Cursed Light Reversals, Heroes Trainings. And it's
playing 50 years in a casket.
Because we need to gain more life.
Oh
man.
I don't want to play against this.
Well, interestingly enough,
I'm definitely playing it.
I played against a Yuri deck a couple weeks ago. I was playtesting, and I played my deck against it. And it was just a miserable life gain extravaganza.
Yeah, I had to play against both those decks Friday.
At one point, at 2 different points, each of us was down into single digits life. And then at the end of the game, we were at full, and I run out of cards.
Yeah, like this deck has 2 Peaceful Messengers. And you'd think, well, does it have a bad matchup against, like, throw decks? No, it does not. This deck this deck is a throw deck. And this deck makes the throw mirror take hours and hours and days and weeks to resolve. Because, if you throw someone and it's a 5 damage throw, they half block, they take 3. but they blocked with the Templar and they were first with the Thicker Splat. Guess what?
The other
Made
thing,
that game to life.
the other thing that I like about this deck is before the last rotation, when the Champ cards and the King of Fighters promo block went away, there was a shitload of recursion. And right now, recursion's a little harder to do. But if you look at the deck list, there's a lot of ways to recur those same attacks over and over again. You've got the character himself. You keep playing the same attacks over and over again. You get Firestorm, which you can play after you block with it. You get to play it again next turn. You have Surveyor, which lets you grab cards back from your momentum. So this deck can just keep hitting you with the same attacks, and if you're not equipped to deal with the attacks that he has, it's just going to be a long, unfun game for you.
Matt, did you have something?
No, I'm just still looking at the deck list and just shaking my head.
You know, I just had a thought that one of the weaknesses of five-handed sizers is Ever Hopeful, and specifically Ever Hopefuling with their entire board back into their hand. And one of the really cool things about Basilio that I just realized is that if you bounce his whole board and put him above 6 cards, he can net cards off of that, and for his next turn, he can throw away those foundations he doesn't want and draw 2 more cards with his form, and then be a real five-hander again, or still, or whatever. Even if you do slime with the Ever Hopeful plays.
Speaking of miserable 5-hand size characters to play against,
you want to go to 10th place?
If you're ready, Hughes.
10th place, Jeremy Ray.
Jeremy Ray.
So I talked to Jeremy about his deck a little bit, and he was saying that the order symbol is better than people give it credit for, and I think he's probably right, because people love saying, well, it's bottom tier, so it's bad. No, bottom tier just means it's hard, it's tricky, it has to dig deep for what it's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it, like, this deck is playing some cards that are not fantastic. You don't want to play 4 of, but they're just kind of the things that he has available to him. And I think the tricky thing is just recognizing when a card is just bad and you don't want to play very many of it, and when it's actually good against like the top decks that are around. Like, I think Weight of Memory is a card that people don't always play 4 of, people don't want to play 4 of, or don't want to main deck 4 of, or whatever. I think it's just an incredible card. You should just be playing 4 of this. Sense of Justice, S-Class Hunter, Into the Sunset. These are actually top quality cards. And this deck plays 4 of them because it's short on playables, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
So this deck looks really powerful. And having looked over these deck lists, I think this deck could have, this deck gets to play Spinning Necro Driver in response to pick it up every turn. I don't know if I want to play against that with my Athena deck. That sounds like a bad time.
Yeah, I mean, order's just tricky. You hit it right on the head. There's not, if you compare it to like the life symbol or the air symbol, there are so many more obviously good cards on those symbols.
You can build an air deck that I would say is wildly suboptimal, but you feel great about because it's like full of, it's 10x, 10 cards at 4x each of all cards that you feel great about. And just air has so many options that I think you do better diversifying. Order, not so much.
Yeah. Order definitely has much fewer options. Like, that's the thing with air. It's just, there's actually to the point where I think there's actually too many options for air. Order, I feel, I don't want to say any other order deck, all other order decks to be the same, but there are definitely, like, I've tried to build order decks. I think I'm running almost the exact same foundation lineup.
Mm-hmm. I believe
just
it.
A few other things different, like including the 4X basic trainings.
One thing I want to point out in here that's not immediately apparent is that Jeremy Ray plus Head Crush is completely insane. You put your opponent under siege, and they buckle and fall down under the weight of your 1 mid-5 throws.
Oh yeah, because Jeremy Ray's ability, you can bounce it back to your hand and play it again.
So yeah, you can play
combo again.
Yeah, so you can play basic training, form with Golden Ticket, Head Crush them, combo it, pick up a second Head Crush. It hits. Response Jeremy Ray, pick up Head Crush. Head Crush combo, pick up Spinning Necro Driver. Head Crush, Spinning Necro Driver.
GG.
Multiple. Taste it.
So that's 2 miserable 5-hand size throw decks in this start of top 16.
Hey, 5 hand sizers make the game miserable. It's just how it works. 7 hand size, exciting, kill you on turn 2, die on turn 2. 5 hand size, misery.
Let's move
How
on
about
to
11th place?
11th place. Another 5 hand size miserable throw deck.
Oh my god.
This time is Matthew Clarkus Turner playing Clark.
So this deck, Piglet talked to me about this deck and how much he really liked kind of the good package around the cards of High School Crush, a new ally, Pulled Magician, Fearless, and Clark. So all these things that you peek at the top card of your deck, manipulate the top card of your deck, draw the right cards, flip over the wrong cards for control check costs, and just defend yourself really, really effectively.
I wonder how often he was able to use the ability on Zing to play without progressive. I imagine that didn't come up terribly often.
I can't imagine either. But you're playing Clark, so it's 7-8 damage for free on its face.
I've got a question for you, Kevin.
Yeah.
Since he was your teammate, what made him switch to the good build when he was playing Fire in teams?
He had talked about playing the good build in teams, but he felt like it was a worse matchup against Kim specifically, and he felt like having the negation pieces, like the Celestial Beings, the Unwavering Resolves, and those just made it just better for teams, and he felt like it was better in teams. But that he had played the good build, and I remember when he had first put it together, he said he played it like, I can't remember how many matches he said, but he went completely undefeated in games in testing the first day he built it, just because of that, and he had so much fun with just that top deck manipulation stuff, and so he wanted to play it in singles. And he wanted to play it one time on the weekend, but he just thought the Fire build was better for teams.
Well, I imagine the good build, with its ability to manipulate the top card of its deck, probably feels a little more consistent, and some of the abilities on the good cards make it more flexible in matches that aren't against Kim.
Yeah, I think that this deck feels like it has a lot more like card advantage and a lot more defense, but less kind of like breakers. Where like you play a Kuga and that breaks Clark wide open. You tap his character, now he has nothing left, and you just beat his face in after that. And the Fire build has a lot of cards to defend itself from those things. This build is just, oh well, they're gonna tap Clark down. I'm gonna have even more defense. It's not gonna matter. So.
Yeah, I really like this list. I'd like to see someone locally try it, but I am far too lazy to put together a 71 card deck.
I can put it together for you.
That is 11 cards too many.
If you want to play it, John, I can put it together for you.
Nah, I gotta get back
good decks
with my special lady this week. I let my girlfriend Mai go out with another guy, and she didn't treat him so well. And
well, she bucked for a little while, then she got in line at the end of the night. I was running real good.
And I hung out with my buddy Lord Raptor, but we got pulled over by the Popo, took our drugs. It was just not good. It was not good.
Sean, so you didn't do the Chris Pratt stance. You needed to train your Raptors. Don't have that dominance.
So fortunately, we are out of 5-hand size hell with 12th place.
The other Felicia deck. I mean, the Felicia deck.
And now we're in 7-hand size hell. Sean O'Brien, tell us how you feel about Felicia.
I hate Felicia. It's unfun. Giggles is the luckiest luck ever.
I mean, this is apparent. We already know this. What does that have to do with Felicia?
One of his turns with no momentum. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to block some stuff this turn. And he's like, no, I'm going to get momentum off my foundation for free at the start of my turn. And then I'm going to play an attack, bounce one of my cards, and get a free momentum. And you're dead.
Turns out Delta Kick is pretty good.
He went Delta Kick, up smash, cat spike, up smash.
Hien Shippu Ryujin Kyaku, for the record. For those of us who are not initiated and or are named Devin Bernier and call that card Happy Feet, it's called up smash because he's doing an up smash. Thank you.
So I agree with it.
This deck is really
he thinks
cool.
DeVos is up smash, for the record, which I guess.
That's wrong.
But I mean, this is your typical air deck. I mean, there's nothing until you get to the one of the 2 and 1 ofs, we get to see some cool stuff in there. But I feel like it's just typical air shit.
It's playing one Nivose.
Maybe
It's only
maybe
playing
Mark only
2
had one Nivose
Ophidiophobia.
because the other 3 Nivoses in Calgary were in Garrett's stupid deck.
I think Mark isn't as much of a like. I remember he used to play Paul Bittner with Trinity Geyser. Like he goes in. He's made for going in. He's not made for rolling up for 45 minutes like Garrett Brad.
He wants to kill you dead.
Yeah, and there's more Nivoses in the sideboard too for when they're really good. But
There's only 2 Ophidiophobia main deck.
He's got
there's
dodge.
deck. There's like the one distribution in this deck is mind blowing. It's got juggles. It has no grill like any others. It's crazy. It's so good.
Air has too much.
It's got 2 Sagaki offerings. Who the hell plays 2 Sagaki offerings?
It's not
Ooh.
a kick.
Who
Or a
plays any
slam.
Sagaki
Or a
offerings is funny
punch.
shit then.
I mean, this deck is, I think, pretty typical of what you'd expect to come out of Calgary, especially.
This is a Garrett deck, yeah, 100%. I gotta say, if you haven't done this yet, and I highly recommend doing this, playing a character that has the water symbol, either an air deck or a water deck, and playing Dancing Flash and enhancing with Juggle while you have no momentum. It's so sweet. Either your opponent just picks up a foundation, puts it in their momentum, and now you put them back on resources for commit cost. Or you get to choose which foundation they bounce with Dancing Flash and Z. It's fun. It's really fun.
Let's talk about 13th place, Metal Man, or AKA Little Athena.
AKA 404. I kept AJ from going Calgary undefeated with draws and wins and nothing else. Could not keep them all out though. This deck is funky.
I mean, you'd expect a Metal Man deck to be a little funky. I feel like he picked up some really good tools with Satoshi support coming back. Superior Technique is super good. I like the one Timbatsu in there as an asset.
I mean, this deck's playing 4 Psycho Balls.
That's the weird part.
That's awesome.
I love that it has my favorite card to run with Metal Man, Topspin.
It's got Topspin. It's got Curiosity. It's got
a Singleton Ultimate Undead. I really like that.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Need that for late game.
This guy's only maining 2 Revokes, so he's a total scrub lord. Come on.
I mean, if you run 4 Revokes, sometimes you can get in some weird, awkward positions with a 6-hander, especially at the beginning of the game.
On turn 1, it's fine. On turn 3, when you want to attack them, it's kind of awkward. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I think
he
should run
throw
3.
Them away. You just cycle them with a Z.
I mean, he does have the best Revokes.
But yeah,
if the opponent's shields are down, you draw Revoke in 3 moves. You're like,
especially I'm gonna revoke all of your defensive enhances. Get wrecked.
Yeah, but he hasn't set up to the point where he's going to start getting more attacks back to his hand yet. If it's only like turn 2 or 3.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, I gotta say, I think this deck has the most attacks in top 16. Which I love. I love that we're seeing a 22 attack Psycho Ball. Like, of all the world decks in the world, this is definitely the one that wants Psycho Ball the most, because it gives you a foundation if they block it, and it gives you a foundation if they don't block it, and that's really cool.
So, have fun playing Metal Man if you want to put this together. I think you're going to be in for some long games with lots of draws, Mr. 404.
I'm going to wait until there's Transform for Metal Man. That's going to be lots of fun.
Does it Transform wreck Metal Man?
No?
No? Okay.
Maybe?
It doesn't. I don't remember.
But, I don't know. I know that it's F makes
coming.
it so you play all the top spins out of your discard pile.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, so now it's a totally different deck. This is just like, I mean, Matt, can you talk to me about just like kind of void fundamentals that are going into this deck? About, just commentary on the foundation base or anything like that?
Yeah.
Because void's like your symbol.
Yeah, it's a little bit different because it's a DeForester deck. I think. No, it's not really a DeForester deck. It's not like my ideas of DeForester are completely messed up because of you now. Because, and really, you can just use it for the speed pump.
Yeah, I think it's for the speed pump as much as anything else.
Yeah, like he's playing an aggressive Void deck, which is slightly alien to me. I haven't done that in like 6 years. Um, I feel as much as people think that I'm a little bit biased about with Rainflush. I really think this is one of the better characters to have it because it's 14 damage across 2 attacks with him, and if that hits and goes down,
You get it.
picking that back up is really good. Um, and also if you hit with your multiple copy, it gets to go down, and
Yep.
your multiple copy was always an attack from previously in the turn.
Yeah,
Um,
I kind of wonder about if Rainflush was on the menu here and he declined it. A lot of people like having 0/2 checks in their deck, but adding that consistency. And it is only playing 6 attacks at more than 3 difficulty when you put it that way.
yeah, like it kind of
I think this
seems
deck
to
wants
me.
I think this deck actually, why this deck probably got draws is because attacks
Hmm.
take a lot longer than foundations, and this deck probably triggered curiosity in most of its games. Playing 3 attacks, then passing the turn after doing so.
Mm-hmm.
It really feels like to me this deck wanted actually more ultimate undeads. Or it sat there till it found its ultimate undead and then just played lots of little attacks.
You know what Metal Man does, right?
Yeah,
Your hand
but
is 6 attacks on turn. Like on turn 4, if you poke them, your hand is 6 attacks. Your entire hand is attacks, as long as you have those face downs in your staging area.
but but ultimate undead makes it better.
But
That
let's
card
move.
costs
Let's move
17.
on.
Anyway, okay.
We're starting to run a little short on time already.
Infinite Zoe, Sean O'Brien, talk to me.
There is one thing that this deck is missing real quick though. Doesn't have killing dinosaurs. That I feel is wrong.
Maybe.
It could be. That's the direction to explore. If you're
So
interested.
this deck put me completely on tilt a couple weeks ago when I lost.
What decks don't put you on tilt?
One
I
DP.
lost
Kim,
one
Felicia,
to this
Zoe.
Decks he beats, Matt. Those are decks that can't.
Yeah.
You
Decks
can't
he
tilt Sean by losing. Although I think I've lost to him and he's been on tilt before, so maybe not.
I'm just always on tilt. But this deck was especially tilting. Ryan Field, our other local luck sack, killed me from full with this on his turn 1.
1?
Yeah,
What?
turn 1. And
Totally
he's like,
fair.
And he's like, "Oh, I just drew into the card idea. Blah, you're dead."
So his
Totally
opening
fair.
hand was literally double and additional design, infinite weapons, multiple 2 attack, and he ran good to
He
not
ran good.
check that.
Didn't check
Wow.
anything bad.
Over like the 9. I guess it's not 9 hits. It's like you need 2 checks and you get to play 3 attacks every 2 checks.
Yeah, it was not cool. It was
So
not
this specific so the combo really quick, if you don't know this, is that Zoe's form says you can't play attacks from your hand for the rest of the turn. So you play a Hurricane Upper, you multiple 2 it, you get to pick up the 2 multiple copies. That's pretty cool, and especially because the Hurricane Upper can get you a momentum. So then your second Hurricane Upper, now you've tutored to put in your hand. You can pick up a Templar or something, Summer Heat. However, if you have the card Infinite Weapons, it lets you play face down cards from your card pool rather than your hand, so you can keep attacking after playing Zoe's form. And so you get the combination of 2 additional knowledges in your momentum, a Hurricane Upper face down in your card pool, and then Infinite Weapons in your hand. You play Infinite Weapons, you flip your Hurricane Upper face up, play it, multiple 2 your additional knowledges into the card pool, and now your card pool is Infinite Weapons, Hurricane Upper, and then 2 multiple copies. Your opponent takes 9 damage because they've been blocking all day by now, and then you form a Zoe, pick up your 2 copies of additional knowledge. You play one of them on a 4, that flips down Infinite Weapons. Then you form a Zoe and pick that up. Now your first AK is back in your momentum. You form with a second AK, and now flip your Hurricane Upper face down, put that in your momentum, and now you've finished your loop. And now you play your additional knowledge on a 4 difficulty because it's got 1 progressive, and you replay your Hurricane Upper. And so you make 2 3 checks and 2 4 checks, and the result is that your opponent has to deal with 3 attacks that are 2 mid for 3.
And then
That's a 4-card combo that's an infinite loop. And the rest of the deck is dedicated to setting it up with cards like Playboy and Preparing the Curse, which reduces the number of checks you have to make if you have to make a lot of them. Like against Clark, for example, you might have to make a lot of checks. And then just defense with Summer Heat, or like any other, Chairman White Eye Fearless, Photophobia. This deck in particular is playing a neat little piece of technology of Sure You Can, which is basically a draw two. So you play it, you put 2 cards in your opponent's pool, you form a Zoe, now you get a better build out of it. I played it in singles. He checked kind of bad, and I had a lot of revokes in my deck, so I was able to stymie his attempts to go off on me. Because the thing about the combo is that it loses to basically everything in the game. You cancel the keyword, it's done. You remove the keywords, it's done. You fight over momentum, it's done. But
I don't know. I think it did better than about 90 decks.
Sorry, Matt, what?
I think it did better than about 90 decks. Can't lose to everything.
Yeah. I mean, it was at the bottom of the standings. It was 16th seed after diversity.
It was. Yeah, 16th. Came in at the bottom of after diversity.
And yeah, I mean, the combo specifically gets beaten by anything, but you can also have anti stuff. It's playing familiar faces to Prick Against Revoke, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This deck makes the worst kind of UFS. I hate it. I don't think we should have loops in our game. Just no. Ban it.
Yeah, if you want to play a Zoe Infinite Loop deck, go play in an Exceed. It's a lot more fair and a lot more fun.
Blah, blah, blah. We're not talking about that. 15th place.
Matt, you got to talk about this deck. This is your baby. You built it.
We've talked about this deck so many times.
I've literally talked about this deck about 30 times.
It's Snake Man. Play it.
So, why
there are some differences.
Spiders and Dragons?
A few reasons. First off, actually, he had more cards in his deck for teams, and he wasn't drawing as well consistently. So after teams, and after dinner and everything, he called me up, and it was like basically 4:30 in the morning for me at that point, and asked him what cards to cut. And I was 4:30 in the morning, so I think I cut 1 Spiders and Dragons. We were at 3. And then I guess something ended up not getting cut properly because it's say on this list here 62. I thought we cut it to a flat 60. Because this is a deck where you want to draw your Murakumo as fast as possible.
Giggles cheated! Again!
No. I think either this deck list, I'm not going to count right now to see if something's wrong. Or maybe he just ended up changing his mind that morning. But the big reason is there was already a bunch of 3 difficulty cards in there as is.
It's an action. People like playing it as a foundation. It's not a foundation. It's an action. Come on, guys.
Yeah, but if you get a bunch of these things in your opening hand, it's kind of really crappy.
So you're playing 7 assets because those are really crappy too, right? Anyway,
those assets are really good for him.
Yeah, if he plays 2 of those and then 2 1-diff foundations on turn 1, he's probably killing you on turn 2.
Moving on to something less boring and less rehashed. AJ Murray
boring.
Is
this game's hot.
This deck was just so you know. This deck is the 16th place on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was at the top table in the 8th round of Swiss, and he spanked my Athena deck in the booty in game 1 in 5 minutes. It is a very good deck.
I have some very conflicting problems with the deck.
Really?
Why is there only 2 Mary Turn? That seems like a card you want to be running 4 of.
I mean, he's got to know what he's doing.
I guess. I mean, if he made it, he's got to, this is why it's I want to talk to AJ at some point. And I haven't personally...
Because it was a Calgary deck.
Yeah, look at all those one-ups. Clearly it was made in Calgary.
Fair.
You play Dust Crusher and you play Rain Flush, and now they've probably expanded their high blocks. You can walk that. If they haven't mid blocked anything, which is the really cool thing here, is if they half block any of your 5 damage moves, they take 3 damage, which means you can Lilith them back and dance Mary Turn or rather Dust Crusher or Rain Flush again. And with Mary Turn, you only need one of them to play if it hits to pick it up and then play a 5 damage move after that. It's not like drawing 3 of them.
He's playing Rain Flush And Mary turns a single keyword attack, so that could be one of his points towards it.
Yeah,
It also could
combo
be
Rain Flush early and often.
it also could be maybe he was more having it in there as the +1 low block. Like I'm starting to see about it now that I'm actually just talking about it with people. So this is a good thing to just sit and talk about decks, but it's just all really weird. I should play
Yeah,
Lilith again. I haven't played
this-
her in like a year.
This deck is ridiculously good. Like I've played a lot of. I've tried to play a bunch of Chaos Lilith. I had a lot of fun with that. That Chaos Lilith deck sucked ass compared to this one. Like I was playing Dancing Flash. Dancing Flash is great and fun and exciting. Dancing Flash is worse than Rain Flush.
Yep.
Especially when you have to play like I'm playing like 20 cards to enable Dancing Flash, and this deck's playing attacks that it wants to play anyway. You know, I think playing the Estes Athena deck, I've experienced the joys of Dust Crusher, and I can only imagine Dust Crusher in a character where it starts at 6 speed all the time. You know, this deck gets to play 3 Hanyas main. It gets to play Sartanium Blades. Like the foundations, especially all the one-ofs, are probably really tricky to deal with. I don't quite get weapons upgrade, to be honest, though. I don't think there's a lot of Breaker or Stun in here.
There's the Leaf Shields.
Okay, so
Um,
it's Leaf Shield and Kaideki for Breaker, and then Dust Crusher
and-
for if you want to
yeah.
stun 3 of them.
Anything else to be said about the deck list, gentlemen?
I want to play it.
Should build it.
Build it. We have
Probably.
tournament
I'm gonna
this
play-
Friday.
Good.
I'm gonna play some build of it. I've been wanting to go back to Lilith for a while.
Yo,
Ever
Matt,
since what?
Matt, don't mess with the numbers. Play it as it is, and see if you can draw the cards that you were thinking about cutting before you. I think that's a big thing.
Oh.
Is that it's really easy to try to just as a general principle, not even directly at you.
Well,
like, it's
I need
really
like
easy
10
to-
cards then. That's the
To
that's
look
the
at a
main
deck
reason why I'm
and say,
changing it.
oh well, I can Monday morning quarterback and say, oh, this is clearly worse, this is clearly better. I think it's really important to play with things and to understand them and try to understand why they are the way they are before you go in and start meddling with them.
The only reason why I was gonna change is because I don't have them.
Oh,
Well,
fair enough.
I know a place where you can purchase them.
No, I can't.
I know a tournament where you can proxy them. Right?
Yes.
Eh.
Haha. All right, moving on to our opinion piece. Because I know certain hosts have very strong opinions about this topic. The player of the year. I know people in our audience were also pretty excited to talk about this. To bring everybody up to speed who doesn't know, the morning of singles, Jasper Games announced the player of the year event. Yay! Where you earn
Yay.
points by playing in large tournaments, you earn points by winning in large tournaments, and those points eventually turn into a trophy and a foiled out deck of your choice.
Yep. Playing is good, winning is better. Winning Swiss champ, like winning intermediate things like Swiss champ and obviously championships is even better than just winning rounds.
Which, all this sounds great, but there seems like there's a bit of controversy regarding how it was announced and how it began. And for that, we're going to turn it over to our official controversy correspondent, Matt Hughes.
Oh
Senior
boy.
controversy correspondent.
Your controversy correspondent.
To be fair, I've had a couple weeks to cool down about it. So one of my comments was really just me being a little bit salty, because I don't really have the resources to travel as much. But it does favor people that can travel to all the events. Because even if you do mediocre, if you're just going to more events than everyone else and just participating, you're going to get a lot more points. But in fairness, they're a business. That's exactly what they're trying to do, to get people to go to more of their events. So I'll concede that point. What I don't like is that it was just snap announced during Vegas. So anyone who went there has a leg up on everyone else, because we didn't know it was coming. Like, it comes back to where I was kind of upset that for months before Vegas, I'm like, There's no announcements on what's going to be at the event. There's no announcements on anything special for Vegas. If this is something that they had announced they were going to start beforehand, I would have been at Vegas. But now it's kind of to the point where I'm upset because I have zero chance of ever winning this event. Because Kevin is in first place. Any event I go to, Kevin will also be at, and then he'll be going to even more events than me.
Just beat him.
That's the point. He has so many points over me. I have to beat him by a large margin at every single event to even have a chance.
Yeah, I think the way it works out roughly, I think, is that winning an event, you're guaranteed to get, I think, 11 points for the top cuts because you get 5 for winning, and then 1 for each round you play, 1 for each round you win, so you win 3 rounds. And that's over whatever anyone who's just shows up and then plays the same number of Swiss rounds you get, but doesn't same number of Swiss rounds as you, but then misses top 8 would get in that same event. Plus, obviously, the 1 point for each round you win, and the Swiss champ prize. I think it's like 2 points or something.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I don't have any issues with the way it's set up because it does accomplish their goal where they want to increase their attendance numbers. But I am inclined to agree with Hughes. It does suck the way it was announced, I think. But at the same time, I'm not sure they had it ready to go.
Yeah, I'm perfectly prepared to agree that I wish they could have announced it better. I wish they could have, executed it a little better. I wonder if these points are going to be the same thing they'll use next year, if this is next year. And I'm also not clear on exactly when it ends. Like, is the equivalent of the Nashville PTC last year in December? Is that going to be the end of the season? That's kind of a
that's apparently what it's supposed to be.
That's going to be really weird if 2 people are neck and neck, and one person lives in like Seattle and the other one lives in like Atlanta.
Yeah,
that's going to feel really shitty for the guy in Seattle.
Yeah, that's why I think it should start basically at the Lubbock PTC this weekend, and it should run all the way to, and then it should end at Vegas. It should end at the event where anyone who has a shot at winning that is probably at Vegas anyways. So everyone will be at the central point for the last event, and it'll be a lot more competitive and a lot more neck and neck. It'll be a lot more fun to see who's going to win because you don't know until the very end there.
Well, I think what Jasco should do right now to kind of smooth this out and at least deal with some of the controversy surrounding it is I would like to see the end of the event be the World Championship in Las Vegas next year. But I don't think they can really go back and say, by the way, that thing we said counted now doesn't count. Because while it's going to feel good for people like Hughes who didn't go, it's going to feel super shitty for people who went to Las Vegas. If that makes sense.
I agree. Like, it's kind of it's crappy no matter what way you look at it. Which is why I don't have too much more to say on it. It's just the idea of it is really nice. When it started, I think was awful. That's basically what I've got at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And to touch on what people are talking about with the promos, I believe they said it, or not promos, but the foils that they can make of your deck. I think they can make KOF cards. They can still print them as long as they are not making money off of it. I believe that is technically how it works right now because they did reprint that Ash attack a while back after they no longer had the rights to it.
Interesting. I wonder how. I wonder. Like, I mean, I don't know if Jasco Games actually has a lawyer, or they definitely don't. I can't imagine they have a lawyer on staff as opposed to just like someone on retainer, or if they would ever. If they're, I wonder what the situation is there. What's up with that?
The other thing is the only thing that kind of that makes me a bit cynical about the prize itself is depending on what cards you pick for your deck and how long it might take them to print it and get it to you.
They might rotate.
Your deck may not be legal.
Oh man, I might just embrace that and be like, yeah, man, I want my foil evil sparrows. I want slice kicks back. They have to unban it if they print it, right?
Oh, see, not me. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have my foil deck be 4 Trinity Geysers, 4 Throw It Downs,
4 Nevos,
4 Devoses, 4
Sova
Fall
Freak,
Barriers,
4 Sova Freak,
4 Sova Freaks, You'll just
I'm
just gonna
pretty
choose,
sure.
like, all the most valuable cards in UFS.
I'm
Four
pretty
hot
sure
does,
you
four
have
not
to
over
choose a deck.
yets.
I wasn't there, but from what I read and what people told me online, I think you have to choose one of the decks you actually went to an event with.
So here's
Yeah,
what you do, Kevin.
I asked Jason and Nathan to their face about, can I just pick whichever deck, and like can I say I want Keenan's 200 card Ava deck, and they just kind of like shrugged and said yeah, sure, whatever.
That's what you do, Kevin. You get so far ahead in points, and then you show up to an event with like some 250 card special.
This is my deck. It's the roster CCG card house. It's 12.
It's 12 copies of every card in the game.
Well, it's a 12 box cardboard. It's a cardboard box filled like with cardboard boxes sliding in and out of it where we keep our collection. That's the deck I'm playing this round. My starting character is Ben Shoemaker.
No, your starting character is JJ.
I like it.
I run a set of Pacific gifts. Hopefully you can accommodate that.
I'd sideboard into Ulcadan.
Oh,
so that way I can make use of all my character onlys.
So, yeah, so I think also, and I think, John, we can all agree that I think introducing this was a little botched and could have been handled better.
I'll be right back. Still listening though.
And that hopefully next year they can learn from these lessons and have a few less salty people about it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree, Hughes?
Yes, I totally agree. Like, I think the concept of it is pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I've calmed down a bit.
Good. I'm glad you're calm.
I'm still objectively believe that how they released it is wrong, though.
I think everyone can agree on that, for sure. The next thing we were going to talk about real briefly is Turbo. I think we need to get Scooby and the gang together to find out what's going on with Turbo. I noticed that after having a Turbo event at Gen Con last year, we had a Turbo event at Origins last year, and we had a Turbo event at Las Vegas last year. Turbo was tied up in a cellar somewhere this year at Las Vegas.
Giggles beat it down too hard, I guess. It's just like, nope, we're done. We can't let him have the car. We're just going to not do it.
If I remember correctly, the car is to be given out at Origins this year.
Yeah, about that.
So, if my memory of how the format works correctly, we have 3 people qualified for Turbo. And so we have Giggles, and Tom Ra.
Yep.
Hey, you got it right.
Yes. And so, like, does Tom have to play 4 singleton rounds against Giggles and lose all 4 before he's out?
Like,
does Giggles have to play against himself?
Here's the conflicting thing of what I know, because I've actually gone back and rewatched the recording of Total Justice Heroes a bit, where they talked about Turbo a bit, and gone through the older information from Vegas. Originally, it was they were going to have 16 major events, like their first one that they did, or the like Origins or whatnot. The Origins only had 2 people. And it was just going to be as many people could join, whatever. Winner of that gets, from what they told at Origins, gets a key, and that key gives you one of the 16 slots for the final tournament. Since then, after Giggles won his second event, that's apparently changed, and they're going to have a Turbo League of some kind, where every store can hold a Turbo event once a month. And then the winner of all of those events feed into another event that I'm guessing plays off for those 13 remaining slots. I hope that's how it's going to be. Otherwise, Giggles, and Thomas Ra could possibly get screwed over if they have to play for their top 16 slot again.
I mean, I think that what you're describing requires more Turbo events to actually happen, and
so far there haven't been any.
Yeah, like
it hasn't really taken off in the way they must have been hoping it would. We haven't.
They haven't actually started it yet.
Sorry, come again?
And it's because they haven't started it at all yet. It seemed like they had a lot of the groundwork set up from when we last talked about it,
So are they
and then
going
it
to
just never
restart
started.
Turbo?
I don't know.
Well, hopefully this might get ironed out in the state of the game.
Yeah.
Which Scooby and the gang are still out looking for. So maybe they'll find Turbo tied up in a cell or two with Old Man Richards.
I don't know. They had to call in Jabberjaw to get this done.
Oh, wow. So let's move on to Kevin's segment. Kevin's top 5. Top 5 answers to beat Assets Athena other than not showing up.
Yeah, well, I mean that's
It's a
like
pretty good one.
That's the nuclear option, and it washes off a lot of radiation and salt onto you as well, or radioactive salt even. So again, I kind of like to give you more than just like, yeah, play this card. It's really great. Because I mean, a lot of people know Card Hand's a great card, Revoke's a great card, Hanya's a great card, and these cards are all effective to greater or lesser extent against Assets Athena. I try to kind of give you like kind of guidelines on like the strategic approach and like the cards and things that can where you can find a card and fit it into the mold of what you're trying to do rather than just saying, well, yeah, this card's good. And so along those lines, the fifth best way, the fifth thing you have to do in the top 5, first one I'm going to list off, is to deal with Karame Dama by reducing its damage rather than by trying to block it. Blocking Karame Dama sucks really badly. Athena will get to draw a card for every asset she has in play. It's safe, so you can't reversal it even though it's slow. And in general, damage reduction just makes it look bad. It only has 5 damage. And even if you have to take that to the face and you're a 7-hander, if you can block everything else, you'll be in great. You'll be in fine shape by the end of the game. And damage reduction is really good against Athena in general. The damage reduction and life gain as well, which you can see these life decks that can gain a ton of life. Just because her attacks tend to be very fast with Saw Blades and the Malta going on. And
I distracted you.
Yeah, it sure did. But so yeah, number 5 is defense using damage reduction, especially against Karame Dama and damage reduction life gain. Don't block Karame Dama ever. Just don't do it unless it's like super late game. You think you can block a million more attacks, and your opponent's gonna run out of foundations before they run out of not foundations. This is even more important to Superior Technique now, because if you block Karame Dama, they draw Superior Technique. You just got completely destroyed, annihilated, knocked off the face of the earth. You're gonna lose every time. The fourth best way is to fight over the card draw abilities. Use things like Weight of Memory. I think is my number 1 MVP here. Weight of Memory is so painful to play against. Because your opponent gets to draw a card and they get to turn off your DeForester. They even get, if you have 2 DeForesters in play, you use one of them. Your opponent, or if your opponent has 2 DeForesters to play, you can respond with Weight of Memory and seal the second DeForester, so they only get to replace 1 card, and you'll get a draw card to defend yourself with. Especially if you can get a really big staging area going, like a defensive life deck can do this, or a defensive earth deck, or order deck even. You get a big staging area going. That card you can draw will be you build a deck with a lot of blocks in it. You can draw a block, defend yourself from an attack, and then take down the staging area a little bit too. I think Weight of Memory is a grossly underrated card, and it's really, really good against Assets Athena. Card-handed against Superior Technique is also really devastating.
Both of those cards have life.
Both these cards have life. Some cards that don't have life are Showdown and Polar Warp, which both fight over Superior Technique as well, but they don't beat DeForester itself.
Hey Kevin,
You could
what
stop
deck beat
Tamayoshi
you?
with those 2 cards too, right?
Yeah,
What-
the anti-action cards. Yeah, they definitely work in Tamayoshi.
Kevin, what symbol deck beat you?
A life deck.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, life's a good symbol.
Well, speaking of Weight of Memory, a couple weeks ago I played against a life deck with my deck. Jesse Cervini and I, between the 2 of us, had 7 Weight of Memories in play. It was a fun time.
You both get so many cards in your hand, but
We
so
drew
little
all the
staging area.
cards!
And hey, whoever's turn it is, whoever shoots first, that's a bad place to be, because your opponent's going to get to untap first and have all their resources up ready.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the same time, you draw cards on your own turn. That means you can play them as forms before your opponent. So I'm not sure who's advantage there, who you'd rather be. I'm going to move up to... Actually, I wrote these down in order. So I'm gonna say that the third thing you have to do to beat Assets Athena, the third way you can win, really, because this isn't actually very terribly reliable, but it's to destroy her face downs. This is an underappreciated aspect of playing as Assets Athena, is managing your forest. So you have to be able to cut down some trees to make DeForester work, but you get to replant them with more assets, actions, and attacks from your hand. If your first form ability isn't being kind to you, or if your opponent is disrupting it with cards like Ever Hopeful or the Bell's Toll or Conqueror of Night and Day, are all ways to destroy. It's to selectively remove face-down cards from your opponent's staging area. You can actually run them out of cards that they can destroy to DeForester's ability because they can't be foundations. And if you can do that, now the best card in the deck is completely offline. And Conqueror of Night and Day especially does this at a ridiculously good rate of enhanced flip to destroy a face down. That card can actually outrace, like, I can have Tamiyoses go. I can be drawing Tamiyoses and still run out of face downs because my opponent is hitting them with Conqueror of Night and Day. Especially if you're looping them, or unflipping them, really, with cards like Shopaholic to pick it up. A Heavenly Match can unflip Conqueror of Night and Day, or so can the Desperation response on Yori's attack, Yaodome. All can unflip this and really put you in a good place to be able to come back against a Tamiyose form or two, even if you have time to do it. The Bell's Toll is a weird little card I found that could be really good, could be especially insane in Dr. Wily, who gets to pay for it really freely. That just says F commit, destroy one of my foundations, destroy one of your face downs. Out of the old Cadence support. So taking out Athena's face downs is a really valuable tool that I think is underrated and isn't obvious. You know, your opponent has a DeForester and one face down in play. You have an Ever Hopeful. If you bounce their DeForester, they can just put it back down. Maybe flip a card hand or something to pay for it. But if you bounce the face down, they're guaranteed no more DeForester action this turn.
Or you could bribe the TO into moving the tournament to a new venue.
Corey, I was on tilt because my control checks were the stuff of legends. They were I checked 5 running attacks, I think, and failed to block a Death Valley Faceplant at one point because I checked so many 3s. The deck's full of 5 diff moves. So, anyway, salt.
Number 2.
The number 2 best way to beat Athena, and I think this is a general principle, is kill the enemy. Just punch her in the face. A character like Lilith, a character like Pharaoh Man, anyone with Saw Blades in their own deck, especially on like turn 2 and turn 3, before she really gets her engine going, or when she doesn't draw Tamiyoses, and it's the deck only plays 17 foundations and it gets the first form, but if there's no girl like any others, if there's no DeForesters in play, just passing the control checks on blocks can be very difficult for Ashes Athena with the wrong draws. She plays a lot of cards she plays Revoke, she plays Hanya, she plays Coward Handed that can be very disruptive to your offense. But if you can get around those, especially if you can build your deck to resist Hanya, or to just be explosive enough, you can, Ashes Athena isn't she doesn't dominate aggro decks by any means. Where she really shines is the slower decks that don't pack a ton of disruption. You just, you can't possibly lose if you get 6 turns to play the game and your opponent hasn't blown up your whole staging area and isn't pressuring your throws or something. But if you can go in on a turn 2, I know against Ben Shoemaker in the Swiss rounds, he was playing I'm pretty sure it was Fire or Pharaoh Man. He was playing Pharaoh Man while he was playing BB Hood. I only beat him because in games 2 and 3, I had the busted draw where I played multiple Tamiyoses on turn 2 and turn 3, and breakered him and checked really good on all my blocks and stuff to stay alive. Fire aggro, an aggressive Felicia build. A lot of Felicia builds can beat Athena. It's kind of coin flippy, but if you're going from losing every match to Athena to flipping coins with her, that's a big improvement. I think you can do that in a lot of different ways in the format right now with aggressive 7-hand size characters. And if you were paying attention, when you have ever seen a deck that needs 2 assets to be in play, the best way to beat Ashes Athena is to destroy her assets. Just have force being Necro Drivers in your deck, and just stop her from ever playing the form on Tamiyose. She can still win; it's still possible, especially if she just draws more assets than you draw anti-asset cards. But you can almost always buy a turn if she only has 2 assets in play by blowing one of them up, and then not just being completely ridiculous. Spinning Necro Driver is great here. Helmet Explosives is very good, although it can both these cards are a little bit susceptible to Revoke. Revoke's very important to protect yourself playing Ashes Athena from these cards. And there's also you can even play Descent. I think is an underrated card that's got a bit of a higher price tag than these two. I think overpowered kind of defense pieces of homemade explosives and Spinning Hard Driver. But Descent's a very playable card as well. It destroys assets just fine. For water and death decks. Water, death, and evil actually all three don't chain with the other two.
Do you know what cards I think you should include on your list that I don't think you did?
Yeah, what are some honorable mentions, Sean?
Self-destruct. I think self-destruct is extremely underrated right now.
Self-destruct is so good against Athena. She can't attack you without a staging area. Her like the whole deck is 4 and 5 div moves. Self-destruct is. I actually you can. The first match I ever played on camera was against a self-destruct Skullman deck, which obviously isn't legal anymore, but. It was a close match, and it's a 60-minute round, and we barely drew. But in the third game, with like 5 or 10 minutes on the clock, he resolved self-destruct, and over the next 3 turns, it's his turn, and then the turn 1 and turn 2 after self-destruct, he plays 7 attacks because that's what Skullman can do, and I just had no chance to win that game in the time he gave me because I only got we basically both got 2 turns after that. Time was called at the end of his second attack string after that. And I had to rip really good, drawing high blocks off the top of my deck to stop Skullman's Enhance from ripping my hand apart. And even though I stayed alive, I couldn't have killed him no matter how good I checked, no matter how well I ran leading up to that, just because it's too hard to pass those control checks with no staging area. Self-destruct is definitely a great tool to beat Athena.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to see that card played a little more. I think, like I said, it's a little underrated. I think compared to previous destruction cards, it's not as obvious when it's best to play. It's not like when you played Kazuya, where you played all 6 foundations in your hand and then blew up the world.
Yeah.
It's not like when you were playing Infiltrating, where you can just go bunch of moves, foundations, infiltrating, blow up the world. Your turn with nothing.
Suzaku, take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, no, self-destruct is I think is an underrated card, and it's really really good against Athena. I think it's actually one of the cards. If we had to make a list of top 5 cards that aren't in the top 16 of Worlds, maybe I'm going to spoil this thing we're going to do next week. I don't know. We haven't talked about this. Self-destruct is number 1 on that list. It should have been up there. Actually, it was
self-destruct was in.
It was in one of the decks, right?
Yeah, it was in the Ringman deck.
Yeah. Deserves more. Deserves better. Very, very powerful.
Okay.
So let's talk about some upcoming events because we are very over right now.
I got another show to record, so.
Uh-oh. Okay, so upcoming events. This weekend, which due to time constraints we didn't really get to discuss, this weekend is our first post-Worlds PTC in Lubbock, Texas. Fortunately for them, we know there's going to be no surprise bans 2 days before the event.
Yeah.
So... if you're in that area, stop on down, play some UFS, have fun, get those Player of the Year points.
Play a good aggro deck, play Weight of Memory, play Card-Handed,
play Self-Destruct.
Ever Hopeful, their face downs.
Just all in the same deck.
Just do it all. Do it all.
Yeah, let's go.
At the end of the month, February 27th and 28th, there's a tournament up in Thunder Bay, Ontario, which is, I looked at a map. It's Lake Superior. You know how it looks like a little dog? It's like on the dog's nose.
That's swell.
So if you're up there where it's just polar bears and moose and like 6 people, go to Thunder Bay. In March, the 12th and 13th, there's a PTC in Poughkeepsie, New York at Dragon's Den, hosted by our wonderful friends. Jack Hale's going to be running this event. Hopefully it'll be a good time. Hopefully we get some good prize support.
So is this the one in the mall next to the tea shop, or is this the store? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
It was a cool tea shop.
Speaking of, if there's any Poughkeepsie people watching, my normal place to stay is not available. We are looking for a place to stay. My group. So anyone can help us out, even if we have to split up and go to different places.
Or you could sell lots of copies of the Mega Man board game this month and get a hotel.
None of us want to get a hotel.
Oh, man.
Like,
well, you should still sell lots of copies of the Mega Man board game. And you all should
Well, tell people to come buy them. Tell them to contact their stores. Oh wait, everyone who wants it that's watching this probably has it.
probably.
As you pointed out, that's kind of a problem we're having.
Now, a week later after the Poughkeepsie PTC is the Little Rock PTC, which is in Arkansas. That's that trapezoid-shaped state next to Texas, I think. And then the most important event of the upcoming season, the Las Vegas 2K, May 14th and 15th in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, I know folks are starting to get their plane tickets, getting their stuff ready to go. That's really exciting. I'm working really hard to make sure that we're going to have some new product, hopefully, to sell at the event. One thing I want people to consider is this event is at the Level Up Expo, which I believe is at the Las Vegas Convention Center, which is not on not on the Strip. I believe it's still on Las Vegas Boulevard, but it's way north. I know that Jesse and I are planning to stay on Fremont Street, which is where all the cool kids go. It's also where all the cool, cheap hotels are. So this trip might be a little more cheaper on your wallet than going to the Planet Hollywood, because I remember that place was a little on the pricey side. Kevin Broberg, are you going?
Hell yeah, I'm going. I had such a great time at Nationals this year. Plus, I only lost like one match, so I obviously have to come back, right?
We are hoping to run a turbo event if the new turbo is up and running at this event, probably on Sunday. Unfortunately, it'll probably end up having to be concurrent with Top Cut. So if you're doing good in one event, you probably won't get to play in turbo. Sorry, Kevin.
So if it's a double elimination turbo event, can I just like count my singles top 8 run as rounds in the turbo event, and then when I lose, that's my first elimination. I go to the losers bracket.
No,
that sounds fair, right?
If you look at the tournament floor rules, you have to register for the event during the registration time.
I can do that.
So he registers, and then he just loses round 1
and then
because he fails to show up.
No, I'm saying that they're linked. So I get buys as long as I keep winning my tournament round.
Shut up, Kevin Broberg. You're dumb.
It's a good way to end the night.
Civil, and I'm the first one to call a name tonight. Thanks, guys.
I mean, I put on the 1,000-yard stare when you were talking about not UFS earlier. So.
A last fun thing to cover tonight. Much to Kevin's dismay, we will not be getting custom Maxima lasers made this year.
Oh yeah, that Super Bowl is rough.
I told.
You want to talk about it?
We'll talk about it real briefly.
Would you like to recount descriptions and what's the other words of the game without
Kevin, you said the name of the event. You're not allowed to say the word. We're supposed to talk about the superb owl.
Yo, that owl was gorgeous, though. I thought it was really well played by both wings, I guess. All the feathers were really cooperating well. It was too bad when the one got...
You're going to get sued by the National Football League.
The one owl pellet got knocked into the end zone. That was a bummer.
I think we're going to have to take Kevin off of this stream.
At any rate, we will not be making custom Maxima lasers after one of the owls on one of the owl teams. The musical performance that happened halfway through the superb owl, kind of like in its center abdomen area, was not so great. Fortunately, Beyonce was there. I love Beyonce.
Beyonce was great. Don't hate.
So, all in all, I think it was not the best owl I've seen. Was not the most superb owl. So
anyway, we're over time anyway.
We're at time.
Yeah, we're at an hour and a half.
I was mostly joking when I suggested we talk about it.
Oh well, 16 years. As always, next year. And on that, we'll call it a night. Good night, everybody.
Good night, folks.